the Moore College of Art and Design's Visionary Woman Award honors those women who share Sarah Worthington Peters' vision of self-reliance and independence for women. Moore challenges students to take risks, gain self-confidence, express their creativity and leadership potential as they explore their personal visions of beauty, meaning, form, and function. The Visionary Woman Award embodies Moore's mission to prepare students to pursue excellence in art and design. This prestigious award recognizes women whose work and leadership have had a powerful impact and influence on the visual arts and who are leaders in their fields. The 2004 Visionary Woman honorees exemplify the strength and leadership qualities symbolic of this award. Artist Judy Chicago and Charming Shop CEO Dorrit Bern share more than one might imagine. Dorrit Bern broke through the glass ceiling of the retail fashion industry, and Judy Chicago challenged the established art world on her own feminist terms. They also share a commitment to social issues. Judy Chicago has pursued women's rights and social causes through her stunning, provocative art. Dorrit Bern has supported social causes at the helm of one of the nation's leading retail fashion chains. Judy Chicago always knew she wanted to be an artist. Her mother encouraged her art, and her father, who died when she was young, endowed her with a sense of tikkun olam, the Jewish sense of humankind's obligation to repair the world.
I grew up in a politically active, radical family. My father believed in equal rights for women, and my mother worked from the time I was a child. I was inculcated with the idea that it was important to make a contribution. And so I always wanted to be an artist, and I always wanted to make a contribution through art.
In her art studies at UCLA and in her early work as a young artist, Chicago worked within the traditional masculine framework that defined art.
You can't grow up in our world without absorbing some of the messages about what it means to be a woman and what the expectations are.
As her consciousness grew, Chicago chose a different path, even freely choosing her own name in honor of her hometown.
You know, I sort of rearranged my life to accommodate men's needs, and, I learned not to do that anymore. And at that same time, I was searching for my own history as a woman, my own identity as a woman. Instead of denying that I'm a woman, I'm going to try and confront it and make it the center of my work. I wanted to try and put aside what had been imposed on me and rethink how a young woman might be educated to be herself as an artist. And I figured if I help my students to do it, I might be able to do it for myself.
Chicago started the first women's art program at Fresno State College.
Except there was an immediate clash between the values of the feminist art program and the values of Cal Arts. So we took over this old house in downtown Los Angeles and turned it into Woman House, the first female-centered, art installation, which caused a huge furor and was, got all this attention.
Woman House led to an art collective called Women's Space. In time, Chicago devoted herself to solo work again, along with several years on her famous collaborative piece, The Dinner Party. This hugely ambitious work, based on Chicago's research into women's history, featured china painting by Chicago and needlework sewn by a group of skilled craftswomen. The controversial work took years to find broad recognition.
All these people have come together over the years to make sure the dinner party would continue to have a life, to not be lost. I didn't have any big major dealers. I didn't have any big museums behind me. All I had was the power of my art. That's all I've ever had.
In order to find distribution for her next collaborative work, The Birth Project, Chicago formed Through the Flower, a nonprofit association named for one of her earlier works. Chicago's major installation, The Holocaust Project, continued her dedication to create art that people cared about and that resonated deeply within her.
I started thinking about the fact that even though I had been raised in Jewish values, I really knew very little about the history of what it meant to be a Jew or about Jewish practice, and I knew nothing about the Holocaust.
Over an exhausting 8-year period, Chicago created the 32-piece Holocaust Project with her husband, photographer Donald Woodman.
And the Holocaust Project, was very challenging, and we wanted to bring it out of the Jewish community and make it visible and understandable to a larger community. We were known as Miss Gloom and Mr. Doom. Nobody would invite us to dinner because we were depressing. All we could talk about was the Holocaust. She's very good at conceptualizing and has this incredible ability of reading across subject matter to find material and source information.
Through my study of the Holocaust and our immersion in this material, I began to see women's oppression in a larger structure of global injustice and oppression, and realized that actually the whole world had to be transformed.
In terms of the audience experience of the project, we wanted to leave them with an image of hope and not despair.
Because none of us know what the outcome of, what's going to happen in the world. So, we can give in to despair, or we can insist on being hopeful.
Chicago's message of hope emerged in her next collaborative project, Resolutions, A Stitch in Time, which illustrated several familiar proverbs.
Like the human rights section is a series of 6 needle points which playfully put forward the idea that until we have a whole world where everybody enjoys basic human rights, we will not have a world of peace.
Judy Chicago continues work in her home in New Mexico at the magnificently restored Boleyn Hotel she shares with Woodman, or across the street at Through the Flower. She also continues to teach.
Working with Judy Chicago, she's not as difficult as everyone thinks she is to work with. She's very receptive to ideas, and we collaborate very, very well.
I think that what I've been trying to do is share my own vision of what art can be and what art might have the capacity to become.
Dorrit Bern created a place for herself at the top of a male-dominated field, grounded by the self-confidence passed along to her by her mother, who also worked in retail.
I was terribly proud of my mother, and she was really a pathfinder. And every time she was promoted, every time that she achieved something, I just said, I'm going to be like Mom. My father passed away when I was about 11 or 12. And my mother had to go to work. So I was the young lady who was at home alone, and Mom was out working. And, there was a lot of comments by the other mothers that, we just don't know if Dorrit's going to grow up well, if she's going to have the opportunities that she could possibly get in trouble.
Instead, Dorrit Bern was highly motivated and, like Judy Chicago, felt entitled to the same work choices and success as men.
I majored in business just for that reason. I knew that I wanted to go into the retail business, and I went through a formalized executive training program for a department store chain called Allied Stores, and then just started working my way up.
The next significant rung up the ladder was a call from Sears, Roebuck & Company, which wanted to capitalize on Bern's abilities in fashion retailing with Allied to take Sears in that same direction.
So I was the first woman in my position. I was 37 years old, so about 12 years younger than the next executive in that position, and I was an outsider, the first in 100 years.
Bern went on to hold key positions at Sears, Roebuck & Company.
Essentially, I was running about a $3 billion business. And in addition to that, they decided to give me the home fashions business. And that entire structure, that silo of executives, I think it was 75 or 80,000 people that worked for me. So I wanted to be a CEO.
In 1995, Bern received another momentous phone call in her career.
Fashion Bug came to me and said, we want you to be the CEO. Oh, by the way, we're in financial trouble. Oh, by the way, we're a minute away from bankruptcy. Actually, I find that the easiest time to lead. As long as you have the vision and you're passionate about that vision and you're absolutely certain that where you're going and what you need to do is the right thing to do, the organization falls in step. When the Fashion Bug organization, Charming Shops, which is the parent, contacted me, I was excited about the idea of being a CEO. But to be a CEO of a strategy that isn't going to work, there certainly wouldn't be any reason to come.
But Bern had a strategy that would work. First, to reorganize the company's entire infrastructure.
The organizational evolution that took place under Dorrit's direction really set the company up to be able to serve the customer. And I think that overall is her greatest contribution. Without that, I think it would have been very easy for us to lose our way.
Bern's next strategy? To move the stores into strip malls for customer convenience and lower rents.
The theme that I talked to Wall Street about, what I talked to the banks about, because we did owe quite a bit of money to quite a few banks, was that we are going to take fashion from the mall and bring it to the strip for that time-starved female consumer. So what else was going on in America? Americans were putting on weight. Americans were getting bigger. And that wasn't going to change, in my opinion. And what is an underserved market? Plus sizes.
In 1999, Bern led Charming Shops to purchase the Modern Woman chain, the Catherine stores in 2000, and in 2001, the nation's largest plus-size chain, Lane Bryant.
Having such a customer-focused vision has enabled Dorrit really to grow this company from roughly $1 billion to $2.5 billion in sales over the last several years. So it really begins with her view of the customer and her allegiance and loyalty and advocacy for that customer.
Bern extends that customer loyalty to an open forum through chairman's letters she hosts on the company website and in newsletters.
Then I asked for responses. Tell me if there's something that we can address in a chairman's letter to really try to be relevant to our customers. Well, letters and letters and letters and letters kept coming back. We don't have a magazine that talks to us. So would you please get into the magazine business? And we did.
Bern also started 2 charitable ventures through Charming Shops.
And the first one is called Keeping Kids Warm. And our employees get the opportunity, which is the best, to zip that coat up on that child that's jumping around, absolutely thrilled to death out of their minds. And the good news is these are brand new coats, and it's our business, so we know how to buy cool coats. We had Rosie O'Donnell helped us one year launch the program nationally. It was just great.
Charming Shops also launched a contest to honor women who make a difference in their communities.
And that campaign is called Voices. You know, it's a little selfish in a sense because we want our associates to have the opportunity to share in the happiness of these individuals that are receiving what they do.
Finally, Charming Shops believes in encouraging young fashion students at Moore College of Art and Design to reach their potential through the Charming Shops, Inc. Endowed Scholarship.
We found Moore to be a very good partner, not only because of the fashion direction and the artistic approach that they brought, but their values seemed to resonate with what we wanted to do at Charming Shops.
People are looking for talent. People are looking for someone that can move this industry forward, and you can be unbelievably successful at something that you're passionate and care about.
2 women, 2 visions. Dorrit Bern making a place for women in the highest echelons of corporate America, and Judy Chicago creating equality for women in the arts, each forging their own path, inspiring all those who benefit from their leadership, their creativity, and their deep commitment to humanity.
The only way you will be successful is to take the risk that typically no one else will take.
One of the things that I think my career demonstrates is an alternative path, an alternative way to be an artist.